Thank you so much for that. Under Committee Rule 9, we will now question witnesses under the 5-minute rule. I will begin the process. Ms. Ravens, first of all, I want to thank you for how well you've communicated with our committee, being very proactive. This is a very necessary process and to get this whole process resolved. So, Ms. Ravens, in November 2023, the Inspector General reported that AmeriCorps developed a new anti-fraud course, but did not require grantees to take it. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay, I understand that this year was the first year AmeriCorps implemented any sort of fraud education requirement. However, is it correct that only a single staff member per grant is required to participate, and that only applies to some programs, not all?
That's correct. It's just a single staff member in each grantee, and I believe it doesn't apply to VISTA and RSVP programs right now. However, I will say that the agency, this is the only open recommendation from the GAO's recent audit, and the agency, I believe, plans to implement, fully implement that recommendation in 2025.
My concern, I guess, is taken 7 years to even come to this point, right? It's been quite a few years in which this has been happening and we've not been able to kind of get to the source. Am I correct on that?
Yes,
okay.
I agree with you.
Ms. Smith, AmeriCorps has not passed an audit since 2017. Do you believe AmeriCorps is focusing its time and resources on showing that it can handle taxpayer funds responsibly?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I absolutely do, and I think if you looked at the Inspector General's testimony, our former Inspector General, they will tell you they've never seen a leadership team that has made the kind of commitment that we've made today, and that's why we're seeing some of the results that I reported on in my opening remarks.
Okay. 2 years ago, AmeriCorps proudly announced its first ever hiring of a Chief Diversity and Inclusive Officer. In your 2024 annual report, goal number 1 of AmeriCorps is to advance racial equity. Ms. Smith, does AmeriCorps prioritize guarantees who claim to address racial equity?
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, can you repeat the last part of that question?
Does AmeriCorps prioritize guarantees who claim to address racial equities? Is that a part of the requirement?
AmeriCorps does value grantees that believe in equity.
Okay. Your annual report also sets a goal that 80% of AmeriCorps employees would agree or strongly agree that DEI is integrated into the agency. Is that correct?
I would have to double check the record, but I believe so.
Okay. How does indoctrinating employees on DEI and integrating DEI into grants help address the waste and fraud that we've been seeing all this time and the lack of being able to even have an audit taken care of?
Mr. Chairman, thank you for the question. We're proud of the work that we've done on diversity, equity, and inclusion. So many of our AmeriCorps staff or AmeriCorps members themselves worked as teachers, worked in the social sector. And so the priorities for diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility at AmeriCorps is making sure that everyone, no matter where they come from, has the opportunity to take part in this transformative work. And so we want to make sure that we reduce any barriers to service. I am proud, for instance, that 30% of our funding goes to rural grantees. I need to know that there might be a reason that a member of a rural community isn't showing up because they have broadband issues. I need to know that a member of our tribal community that's remote might have a challenge with our fingerprinting requirements because they have to cross a frozen river in order, like a Scammon Bay grantee that I saw, in order to get to one of our fingerprinting centers. I need to know.
Are we kind of conflating what DEI really means? At the end of the day, DEI is how we look, is our background, has nothing to do with merit. And merit is really, I think, what we're missing in terms of getting this program taken care of. We need the best talent, right? Would you agree with that?
Mr. Chairman, I agree
with you 100%. The best speakers, the best innovators, the best people who can sit down and add. So I'm having a problem with seeing how DEI has anything to do with any of that.
Mr. Chairman, the way we look about it is making sure there are no barriers to service for anyone, and that no matter what community that you come from, you have an opportunity to serve. And that's why we spend so much time thinking about diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility.
Well, it should be about return on investment, and obviously we're failing in that area. 8 straight audits. I think AmeriCorps spends its time and energy on DEI staff to spread divisive ideology, which it does, instead of the focusing on the taxpayer funds. I think the American public deserves better. I think we should be looking at meritocracy, how to get this taken care of. The fact is there's a lot of money being wasted, a lot of fraud not being able to be found. It's because we don't have the right talent, the right mindset to take care of that. It is that time to address this very wasteful program. So with that, I'd like to yield